of Sports Administration information session. Today we have a variety of things we're going to go through for you. We're going to do some introductions so you know who we are, who are talking about the program and what our backgrounds are. We're going to talk about career opportunities. We're going to talk about why Ohio, the curriculum, the residencies and networking opportunities. And we'll also give you an opportunity to ask questions of myself and our students who are on the call today. And then we'll also kick it over to Stephanie for a bit for some admissions requirements and any next steps and then any questions there. So let's start with me. My name is Kelley Walton. I am the director of the Online Master of Sports Administration program. I have been teaching at Ohio University for a little over 14 years. Prior to that, I worked in the sport industry. I worked for the Columbus Blue Jackets for 10 years. My background is law and human resources, and so I'm an attorney as well, do some consulting. But when I was with the Blue Jackets, I worked for 3 years in their legal department, and for 7 years, I was their head of HR. So I am somebody who teaches, obviously, probably you can guess, in the legal, HR, governance, diversity, equity, inclusion, leadership type areas. All right, next up, I have a couple of awesome students here with me today, Chris Hirschberger and Grace Schott. Chris, would you do a quick introduction of yourself for the group?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Chris Hirschberger. I currently serve as the Director of Ticket Sales and Service and Data Analytics at the University of Iowa. Been in my current role for a little over 3 years. And before my time at Iowa, worked in minor league sports out in California with the Bakersfield Condors, which AHL affiliate of the Edmonton Oilers. And before that was with Ron Seaver out at the National Sports Forum for a year right out of college. Short and sweet.
All right, very good. And Grace?
Hi, y'all. My name is Grace Schott. I am currently the Assistant Commissioner and Senior Woman Administrator at the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference. We are a Division III conference headquartered in Indianapolis, Indiana, but we have 10 member schools throughout Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. I'm a unique Bobcat. I got my MBA at Ohio University in August of 2023 before coming here, which I've been here for just shy of 2 years in Indianapolis, and then did my undergrad at St. Louis University prior to that, and have experience in the compliance and digital marketing world.
All right, fantastic. Thanks to Chris and Grace for being here. I'll kick it over to you, or if either one of you has anything to talk about as I'm going and talking about curriculum and all of those kind of things, feel free to jump in. All right, so let's start with, kind of the why. Like, what are people doing in the sport industry? What are the career options? Most of the people who come into the OMSA program are already in the sport industry in some way, shape, or form, or they're working and they have transferable skills where they're looking to take those skills and move them into the sport industry. But there's so many different careers out there, and there's people who have, we have students with backgrounds from all different kinds of places, people who work in marketing and promotions, people who work in sales, some work in data analytics. And then if you're like Chris, you do all three of those things in some way, shape, or form, and service. We have people in college athletics. We have people who work in college athletics. We have people who work in pro sports. We have people who work in the sport marketing agency world like GMR and Octagon, live entertainment, facility operations, sport operations, and more. There's so many different career opportunities in sport. And we also have a lot of different current students or people who are looking to move into a variety of different areas. So this isn't a program that's specifically designed for any one area of the sport industry. It's really a broad education that hits a variety of different areas, teams, brands, agencies, and beyond. And the way that we do that is that we have a very broad, high-level curriculum where you're going to get a high-level sport business graduate education. So we have 10 core courses that you will take over 5 semesters. And those 10 core courses are sport law, diversity and inclusion in sport, leadership, sport governance, facility and event management, sport marketing, RevGen, human resources management, financial management, which Grace and Chris are in right now, Everybody's favorite course, right? No. It's hard, but it's good. It's important. And then Introduction to Sport Analytics, which may be one of everybody's favorite courses. We also have special topics in sports administration where we do 1 credit hour options that provide either a deeper dive into a topic that we don't cover in our 10 core courses, or there's also some experience options tied with the special topics. So like just this past, and I'm going to go ahead and bring in a little bit with the residencies already and ask Grace and Chris to talk about that. But one of the things with our special topics that we do in the spring is we tie our National Sports Forum trip to a special topics class, because our students are traveling to whatever city the National Sports Forum is in. This year it was in Boston. Previous year it was in Pittsburgh, and the year before that it was in LA. This upcoming 2026 year will be in St. Louis. And so what we do is we tie in a lot of our academic work to the National Sports Forum. And they're already, they provide a lot of panels. They have fantastic guest speakers. It's basically, 4 or 5 days of sport business education best practices, as well as a bunch of networking. So we tie in, special topics like that with our residencies with our curriculum. So Chris, Grace, either one of you want to give a little bit? I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Next up is residencies, but it really is also a special topic. So you want to talk a little bit about National Sports Forum?
Yeah, that I can hop in, and then Grace, you can correct me where I'm wrong, because that happens a fair amount. NSF is one of the unique places where being in the Bobcat family really shows its colors. NSF as a whole, you're going to learn more than you can possibly take in the 4-day stretch. And more importantly, you're going to be able to interact with the decision makers and the innovative minds within sport, and have an opportunity to genuinely connect with them outside of the occasional 15-minute phone call you can get every once in a while as a student. So highly stressed from the education side and the networking side, that is really a differentiator for that experience. But then it also is an opportunity to hang out with your classmates and your cohort for 4.5, 5 days, share hotel rooms, Airbnbs. You get the experiences of networking and learning the intricacies from, what makes a classmate tick, how can you help them get where they want to go in their career. So all in all, it's worth the investment, and I'm happy that it's going to continue being a part of the program, because I think it really differentiates what makes OU OU.
I'll just say ditto to everything that Chris said. I mean, the professional experience you get on top of all of the networking. I mean, every year they do a Bobcat like happy hour with everyone that is attending the event that attended OU at some point. They all come together. And this year, I just know in Boston, I mean, the room was packed. And they all come from different walks of life. They're all from different, graduation years. And so it's a really overall positive experience on the professional side. But as Chris kind of touched on, and we'll touch on when we get to the residency portion, you get in what you take, you get out of this program what you put into it. And so going to these things, and I had an Airbnb with some of my classmates this year at NSF, and it was one of the best experiences getting to spend time with them, and getting that overall bonding experience that you can kind of get behind a screen with it being an online program, but it definitely makes a difference.
It does. There is something special about that in-person connection. And one of the things that I think is great about our program is there's the flexibility for that, because we have 6 residency options. And if you're looking at the curriculum thinking like, all right, there's sport law, there's analytics, there's finance, like how in the world am I going to go, do some of this other stuff while I'm working? Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. We are hopeful that all of our students are able to take advantage of all of the different residency options. But obviously the core of what we're doing is making sure that you have that sport business education. And some of the things that people have said to me over the years, we had somebody who she was working at the Big Ten, and she was getting ready to apply for a commissioner job, which she ended up getting, which was fantastic. So, very high level sport executive anyway that was in our program. And she said, I didn't know what I didn't know until I took sport law. And she said, I've been doing all of these different contracts and I've been, signing them and asking questions. And she said, I don't feel like I'm a lawyer, but I certainly feel much better prepared to ask questions within my department about sport law. Same thing with finance. I've had people come through and say, really, I did not understand escrow and I didn't really understand budgeting. I thought I understood budgeting, but I really didn't understand budgeting until I went through the finance class and understood the higher level of budgeting. And those are really important areas. And in the last few years, we added the Introduction to Sport Analytics class that has really taken, that just really sets our students apart as well. So the curriculum is obviously really important, but the residencies are key. They really are key to what the Bobcat Network is and how to get to know each other. And again, it's not required. It's just a tremendous opportunity that I think it's one of the things. I don't know that anybody else who offers these kind of opportunities. So here they are. We have national conferences. We have events in Athens. So for the group that would start this coming fall, we have an Athens residency in August that's tied to a leadership development conference that encompasses all of Ohio University College of Business online program. So there's usually about 100 students that come to that. And we have, very high level speakers on mostly focused on leadership, on some different aspect of leadership, and whether, that's teamwork or inclusive leadership or, high level thinking, right? Like sometimes it's really hard when you're doing a job to take a second out and think and analyze and plan and really develop ideas for you or for your teams. And so that's what those leadership development conferences do. So we'll have that in August, and that actually starts a couple weeks before classes even starts. And students that are starting in August are invited to that. Then in the spring, it'll be at the end of February, we have the National Sports Forum. That'll be the experience option in St. Louis. Then in summer, which in our summer is May, being an academic year. So spring is January start and May is summer in our world. So in summertime, which is in mid-May, we have a symposium, and it's our Department of Sports Administration symposium, which for all intents and purposes is really an alumni weekend. So we there have between 75 and 100 alumni, just like MSA alumni, people who have gained the MSA degree either through our PMSA, OMSA, or on-campus programs that come to campus and spend 2.5 days together, where we'll have a day of, we do a graduation celebration for our OMSA students. We'll have guest speakers and we'll have panel discussions. We have a distinguished alum this year who is Dr. John Steinbrecher, who is the commissioner of the MAC. And he will be speaking at both the symposium kind of academic part, panel part, and then he'll also be speaking at our banquet. And then we have a day of fun where there's pickleball, there's golf, there's a barbecue, and there's all kinds of opportunities to connect with each other. So this is where we really bring all of our programs together. So people who went through the online program, as well as people who graduated from the on-campus program. And we just have a big alumni celebration. So great opportunity for people to come together and connect. And then we do it again. So the next fall, we'll have another LDC, we'll have another National Sports Forum, and then we'll have another graduation celebration. Grace or Chris, either one want to say anything about any of the other, we talked quite a bit about NSF, but about any of our other residency opportunities?
Yeah, I think LDC, which is the one that's in the fall, was a new addition this past year for me. And I know Chris and I both attended that. And it was a really good opportunity, not only to bond with all of obviously your classmates within your own program, but as Kelley mentioned, it's other students from other master's degree programs at Ohio University. And so being able to connect with them and have that opportunity. Athens is a beautiful place. So highly recommend getting the opportunity to go at some point, whether it's with LDC or symposium. But it's a really good experience for, especially on your leadership skills. I think some of the speakers that I had at LDC in August were some of the best people I've heard from, and took a lot of lessons back home with me. And so it's an incredible opportunity that you get all 6 of these opportunities. And if you are to enter the program, my advice is to take every single opportunity you can get. Take all 6 if you can do all 6, but obviously none of them are required.
Yeah, I would add and also say when you're networking and with the OU family, a lot of time people talk about Court Street and their experiences if they were on-campus students, and being able to have that shared camaraderie and being able to do I and be able to talk through, even if you're there for 48 hours, it's something that makes it unique and can help foster a greater relationship outside of just, oh yeah, I was online. A lot of people, they integrate through and everything's aligned, but being able to say, oh, we went to dinner, did a hot nut shop, but we walked campus, we did the photos at the courtyard, got ice cream, the little things. That's what really separates it out and tells the story. So getting on campus and then being able to meet your professors face to face. We get Kelley all the time on these, so it's great. But being able to meet more and expand more out through that just helps strengthen your network and expand that role.
It is. Thanks so much. That's a great, I mean, Court Street's a huge part of our Department of Sports Administration lore. It is, it just is. So that's one of the things that makes Ohio, it's a great transition. It makes our online program unique. And one of the things that makes us really unique is that opportunity to connect in person. Again, it's not required, but it's such a great opportunity. And you have 6 opportunities to do that. And so making that connection, feeling like a Bobcat, being a part of something that is a very, special alumni community, which is our Department of Sports Administration and our MSA community. Obviously, I need to talk to you about the accreditation. We are accredited. We're COSMA accredited, which is important to show that, we regularly, not only for our own purposes, make sure that we're doing assurance of learning, but that we're accredited as we do so. That, there's other people looking at what we're doing and why we're doing. We just did a curriculum revision a couple of years ago. We did a quick curriculum revision this year, but we found that we were still the first in many, like not every program has analytics, not every program has DEI, not every program has finance, we are still, out there as the leader in a lot of these different areas. And part of that is because of our COSMA accreditation. And part of that is just because that's our nature. We are the birthplace of sport business education when well over, it's almost 60 years now that the first sport business program was started at Ohio University. So of course, we've been doing this now online for 15 years, and we were also one of the pioneers to do this in an online format. So we have a great network. We have fantastic residencies. It's 5 semesters, which might seem long at the beginning, but I have it's not, right? Chris is getting ready to graduate in May. Grace will be graduating in August, and it goes really fast. I mean, I feel like every time I do my, catch ups right before people graduate, they're like, wow, I can't believe I'm here. That's one of the things too, that it isn't a drawn out, 2-3 year program. And even though it's part-time and it's really designed for people who are working in sports, I want to make sure to hit on that too. If you heard the introductions of both Chris and Grace, and they're very similar to most of our students who are not working 9 to 5, right? They work in sports. And so we have created structure within our classes, but also flexibility on when things can be due, right? Like if things are due on a Sunday and somebody has a major event going on, we're not going to make them turn it in on a Sunday. We had a student come through several years ago who, when he was in my HR class, he was running the women's Final Four. And so he had a little bit of grace in when he could turn things in, and he also did a bunch ahead of time. So, it's that flexible format. And we really have been, again, we've been doing this a really long time now. That academic piece is well set, and it's well structured, and it runs really, really well. So we'll leave it with this, and I'll let Chris and Grace chime in on this as well. why Ohio? If you're looking for sport business education, we have a lot of options. We have a lot of flexibility. We provide a high level, sport business education, and you can do that. You don't have to stop your career in order to do that. You can keep working, and we're designed for that. A lot of flexibility. We have, and I haven't even really talked about our faculty. Our faculty are fantastic. We are one of the very few programs that uses the same faculty that teaches in our top ranked on campus program into our top ranked online program. Many programs use adjuncts, or it's much more asynchronous. So you're not actually like, it's being delivered by somebody as opposed to somebody with some experience. And we have people like me, like I'm not going to teach marketing. I'm not going to teach sales. My background and my industry expertise is law, human resources, governance, etc. And so same thing, we have Dr. Melissa Davies, who her area of expertise is Rev Gen and marketing. We have another attorney who teaches mostly in the undergrad in sport law, and he does a fantastic job with our sport law class. We have so many different people who come in and provide a variety of different levels of expertise in their specific area. And again, that's just very unusual. There are not many programs that use that same faculty as a part of, like, we are integrated into Ohio University's plan and with our department's strategic planning. And then you can't say enough about our engaged alumni network. We feel like, people always say, oh, it's who you know in sports. That's part of it, but you have to still be really good, because sports is such a competitive market for working. You have to be really good at what you're doing. And then you also need to have some connections to help get you to that, to get you in the door, and to help connect you around. So that's our goal, is to make sure you have that high level education and that you're prepared. And then you also can connect with our alumni. All right. So before I turn it over to Stephanie, Chris, and Grace, anything you all have to say about your why?
Yeah, so I probably did more diligent research on graduate schools than a normal person should.
Than
I
maybe
think,
anybody I've ever talked to. You and I talked quite a bit
yeah,
before
I think we
you
had,
even applied. Yeah.
yeah, I think we had 6 conversations before applying, but for me, it was I firmly believe the reason mediocre people don't like being with winners and winners don't like being with mediocre people is putting in time and effort. We're all busy, as Kelley said, but the curriculum, in my eyes, was a huge differentiator, and then the applicability of the people teaching it and the networks that they had and were able to point out and highlight. Professor Wright, who teaches a sport law class, um, not to give away the magic sauce, he puts you in some tough situations, but working in sales, you wouldn't think, why do I need to learn about this principle in law? And lo and behold, 2 weeks after the close of the class, I had a situation come up where I was like, no kidding. Okay, we need to talk with general counsel because I think this might be an issue. And it was. So the applicability of the curriculum, the people teaching it, and then it's the cachet that comes with doing it right. And OU has always done it right, and they'll continue to do it right because the alumni aren't going to let it fall flat. So that's my elevator pitch as to why.
I don't really know how I follow that, but so I started with, I'm a unique Bobcat, so I actually started on campus in the on-campus program that Kelley kind of touched on, where it's a dual degree program. So I completed my MBA there, and then got this job here in Indianapolis and moved, and really had this kind of back and forth of, do I want to finish my MSA? What do I want to do? I loved my time at Ohio, with my first year, but what did I want to do? So I had some great conversations with Kelley, and just overall looking at it, the OU family, I mean, I know you hear it, people talk about it all the time, but it's truly magical. And going into a new job with it being my first like big girl job, I was like, do I want to take on school? Let me be the first one to say it's totally manageable. As Kelley mentioned, I am the person that is all over the place. My classmates make fun of me all the time of like, are you ever home? Do you get a discount on your rent? Because like your background's never the same. And let me be the first to say again, it's very manageable. You can do it. I know we had a classmate who was working the Masters last week. She also worked Paris Olympics. And for me, it was the flexibility of our professors, the experience of our professors, but then also just the way you can apply what you learn in this program to your everyday. As Chris said, my job, I cover a lot of different areas, and there's some things that I was taking in some classes. I was like, oh, I'll never use this, but sure, I sure have. And so I think there's a lot of things that go into it in Ohio, but it's truly a special place. And so many people told me that as I was looking on the on-campus program and then now on the online program. And now being ready to graduate in about 2 months, I can sure say it's truly a special place. The people matter. I met Chris my first month in the program, my first NSF. I started in January, went to NSF in February. He's one of my best friends in the program. Everyone I've met has been absolutely wonderful. And I'm so grateful that I was able to be in this program and hope that you all can join in on it with us.
Thanks so much to you both. I'm not going to try to follow that. That sums it up perfectly. I mean, that's really, and it's more, I mean, I can sit here and say, well, I think, I think this is this, and I think this is, I think it's a great program and everybody should do it. But to hear from both of you is really, that it's really helpful. All right. So let's kick it over to Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I am one of the enrollment specialists that will support you on behalf of OU. So when you are ready to apply, and we have a semester coming up here, August 25th, that's the next opportunity for you to begin the program. The deadline to complete your full application is August 2nd, but of course, the summer is going to fly right by. So if you're considering the program, you can go in already and start your application. It's ohio.edu/apply. And what you'll need to provide is a copy of your transcript from your bachelor's degree from your regionally accredited institution. You need a 3.0 GPA. And if you're just on the edge, we can have you put a paragraph into your personal statement, and Dr. Walton will, of course, evaluate and determine eligibility based off, the background and the reasoning behind the 3.0, if it was just under that 3.0. You need your official transcripts from all of the institutions you've attended. And so even if you transferred one class in, for example, from Columbus State, and it got transferred to OU for your undergrad, you do need to provide that transcript as well, if you would, please. We have 2 letters of recommendation required. Now, one of those does need to be from a supervisor. So those 2 letters of recommendation, when you go into the application, you'll put their contact information in, and they'll get a link to upload the letter back into the site. They do prefer both of those to be professional. If you are a fairly newer undergrad, you can always, of course, use a professor, but you do need to have a supervisor as well so that they can speak to your ability in the workplace and how they feel you would perform as a graduate student based off of some of your communication skills and your time management and organizational strategies. They do want 2 years postgraduate professional experience in the sport or sport-related industries as well. And so, of course, you'll provide a copy of your resume or your CV that outlines all of those wonderful things that you've accomplished. And then a personal statement. This personal statement is a 2-page essay, and your enrollment specialist would be able to assist you, but we recommend talking about your career goals, how you feel this program is going to support those goals, any areas or competencies that you want the program to help you strengthen, and then what you would contribute to the learning community. And that would all come together in about a 2-page personal statement. And again, if your GPA is a 2.9, you would include the reason what happened during undergrad into that personal statement as well. And then lastly, there's typically a $50 application fee, but if you reach out to our team, the enrollment specialists, we would be able to help you with an application fee waiver as well. And there are 2 starts each year, and so it is going to be the fall, which is again August 25th for your semester. The deadline is early August, but again, we don't recommend that you wait, so I highly recommend working on application if you're ready now.
I would like to second that. I highly encourage you to apply sooner rather than later. And part of that just is that you'll get more communication from us earlier, and you'll be better prepared to start the earlier that you apply and the earlier that you are accepted. Of course, there's deadlines, and you can go right up to the deadline, but we strongly encourage people to apply as soon as you're ready and send in your application. All right, so I've got some next steps here. I've got contact information here, but I want to give an opportunity. I just started a discussion over in the Q&A where I just say, feel free to ask any questions here if anyone has any questions. So if any of our attendees for the session have any questions, please type those there and we will do our best to give you good answers. And while we're waiting for questions, is there anything we haven't covered that we should cover?
I was just going to touch on curriculum again,
Yeah.
Kelley. The
I can talk curriculum all day. We can talk all of it all day. All
I
good.
feel like I'm 21 months younger right now.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the things that I think when I was looking at schools that I was cognizant of was the workload and just the balance that being on the 7-week cycle could provide. Obviously, starting in August and staring down the barrel of football and then all of the winter sports launching in the same semester was daunting. But the 7 weeks on with the 1 week in between really alleviated that. And I don't think that that's something that students think about a lot as they're going through the decision-making process. But at no point did I ever feel like I was slammed or overwhelmed with everything. And if I even got remotely close to it, being able to call Kelley or any of the other professors and just talk through it, they were very supportive and willing to work. So I just wanted to reiterate that as people start looking at next steps.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, and echo that for Chris. Again, communication was totally key in mine. I worked a national championship this past spring for men's basketball, was super overwhelmed, had a lot going on, just reached out to professor. All it is about communication. And then just really quick, want to emphasize how truly special the experiences this program offers is. It truly sets you apart. There are a lot of other online programs or other professional programs that offer the curriculum and it differs, but there's curriculum, but really those experiences are what can set this program apart. And again, they're not required because life happens, work happens, things get in the way. They don't always work. But every single classmate of mine that has attended an experience, I know would sit here and say how truly special that is and how much of an impact it's allowed them to have professionally, but then also personally. Again, you'll be with all your classmates behind a screen, no matter what online or professional program you do, but it's truly a different experience when you get to connect a little bit offline, get to know people personally, and then have those personal relationships that even after like Chris and I graduate, we'll keep in touch. I'm planning a trip to Iowa City already. So we look forward to keeping in touch. And those are those things that make this program truly special on the outside.
All right. Well, I don't see any questions popping up in the Q&A, so I am going to assume that we've covered everything. I would like to say very special thanks to both Grace and Chris for joining us today. Thanks to Stephanie for helping making sure that everybody knows about the application process and what that covers. And if anyone has any questions, you have the contact information there for your next steps. We're here to help. This does, just because we have ended the info session here doesn't mean that we're not here to still answer questions or talk more about the OMSA program. Thanks to, oh wait, we have a question here coming in. Time out. All right. Let's see. Question is, I'm going to read it for, since this is being recorded. I am currently an assistant AD at the high school level and was SID in the previous 2 years at NCAA D2 and D3. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you've learned at OU that you've taken into your current roles? I'm interested in the program and would love to hear a little bit about that. Well, it's a good question for the two of you who happen to work in college athletics. So good question.
Yeah, I'll hop in first. If you're looking at making the transition, budgeting and really the sport finance class that we're in, working in sales and having to do payback metrics and looking at all of the projects that come with that, I thought I had a really sound, firm grasp on that, and it was very humbling to get the financial calculator out for the first time in 10 years and realize, nope, I was wrong. So from a transitive position, as you go up in career growth, the finance component part of it is going to be critical. Given where college athletics is undoubtedly heading, it's going to be even more critical. So sport finance really, I think, added another, as Dr. Strode says, we don't need to be the CFO, but we have to be able to have a conversation with the CFO. So having that, and then with your SID experience, learning some of the marketing principles, that just helps you streamline what how to disseminate what information actually should be in the press release. At Iowa, we have an internal team that before any press release goes out from our StratCom team, we have to have 4 people eyes on. 3 of them are RevGen people. So having the base in the RevGen gives you an opportunity to really understand, hey, sales might, it might be clear to say, this is the timeline, these are the prices, this is everything, but there may be a reason why we're holding back some information. So it just gets you to ask those more in-depth questions and be able to have a more transformative mindset going into the leadership role.
Yeah, Chris, finance is a great one. Another couple things is sport law was a great eye opener for me. The college athletics world is an interesting one right now, for lack of better words. And so we really took a deep dive into some of the cases that are going on, some of the things like, hey, if X, Y, and Z happens, this is possibilities, this is something like that. And really, you talked about Brandon Wright gave a fantastic overview of just what's going on, and from a very non-biased, hey, this is what's happening and this is objectively what is going to happen from that. So I think that was a really good perspective from me. I took a lot away from RevGen. Working in a Division III conference, we don't necessarily do a lot of revenue generation, but as for me, when I want to advance my career, that was something that I have not had experience in, and was able to kind of learn from and walk away feeling like, okay, I could do it. I think that's what a lot of these classes, if I didn't see the current application to what I do every single day, I applied it, say, okay, how can it help me better myself for the future? So in my next role, whatever my next steps might be, how will this help me in that? And I found a lot of benefit and a lot of connection there, for how it could benefit me when I go into an interview and a AD or president or whatever asks me, is like, hey, do you know how do you generate revenue, or how do you do a budget, or how do you do these things? So it helped position me better for my role currently, but then also better for the future as well.
One caveat I'll tag on to that, the sport law class. Obviously, I'm on the university side, so it is what it is. But one of the guest lecturers was a lawyer, I think from Columbus, that had ties to the House case. So being able to hear different components and what they were bringing versus what the university is bringing, and then having Brandon be able to extrapolate on, they can bring all of their facts that they want, but the law was only concerned with the facts within the parameters, and being able to get that experience. Candidly, my brother went to law school, so I was like, I know if I ever need legal advice, I know who to go to. And just learning that there's much more that rolls into it. And much like revenue generation, there are multiple verticals within the legal field. So just really eye-opening on how things can be applied across the board.
Great. Well, thanks to you both. And our questioner had same thing. Thanks to you both. So that's great. I don't see any other questions. So at this time, I will wrap things up. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, Stephanie, myself, and really I'll throw Grace and Chris out there too. But really, I have so many current students and alumni who are willing to talk and answer questions as well. So please feel free to reach out to us. And thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Please don't hesitate to reach out, connect. We're happy to help whatever we can.
What they said.
Thanks all.